I can't imagine what it's like. I mean, one of the things that before I started doing press for this, I emailed Alan. I said, "What's the most useful thing I can do?" And he said, "We've got to keep the pressure on getting compensation for the entire families because of what they've been through as well. Because they've been vilified, and you see in the show, you see how a family, the kids of a postmaster start getting abused and bullied at school because they're seen as crooks."
Toby Jones stars in Mr. Bates versus the Post Office. It goes first, second, third, fourth,
and then documentary on the fifth.
Perfect. Were you involved in the documentary?
Voiced it.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. Very good.
Bookended.
You feel nervous because, real people who are still alive are being portrayed in this, and you don't want to kind of demonize people unnecessarily, and yet some of them you do kind of Julie Hesmanholt, who plays your wife, she says it to somebody else, but you feel like saying to all of them, how do you sleep at night?
How do they sleep at night? Because they weren't entirely cooperative with the drama that we've been putting on. So anything that you see them say in the show is in the public realm because they weren't keen to get on board with the drama.
The computer system Post Office spent an arm and a leg on is faulty.
No one else has ever reported any problems with Horizon. No one.
You're responsible for the loss.
I haven't got that money, and I don't know where it's gone.
And also the other terrible thing, I think I'm right, all the money they were forced to pay back that they hadn't actually taken, they've never got that back.
No.
So,
I think it doesn't in the show. She goes, "What? So where is that 30 grand? Where is it? If it didn't exist, and I've paid it back, where's it gone?
Yeah,
who has it?
And also you kind of think 30 grand. If you're just somebody working in a post office, to suddenly kind of go, oh, you owe us £30,000
or 100 or something.
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean, people lost houses and
and I think also the justice thing is interesting. I'm married to a barrister, and she says this is often the case that people they come in with this belief that if they can tell the truth, there's this fundamental belief in British justice that if I can just tell the truth, I'll be able to represent myself. I don't really need help. And you see that happening, that what happens if you do that in this show as well. Yeah. And that's a huge sort of like sadness about people's faith in justice, really.
This is about the reputation of the post office.
It's not. It's about people's lives, you moron.
Finally, 555 of us now, ready to tell our stories.
I hope that this drama and the documentary that goes with it will also mobilise the general population again and just make people feel like this has got to be sorted and turn it into an election issue or whatever.
Yeah, it is. I mean, as I say, it's been framed in this kind of feel-good family viewing way, but it doesn't hide the kind of terrible human cost and the misery.
No, it's one of the most amazing afternoons. I went to the press screening of it, and the room was full of press, obviously, and actors and ITV production people, but also the postmasters themselves who'd been depicted. And it was quite an extraordinary atmosphere because there was sort of jubilation at it and relief at it. There were also just tears and anger, and people watching it have said to me, they're just saying it's quite a frustrating watch because you're just going, this is so ridiculous what's going on.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it's like. I mean, one of the things that before I started doing press for this, I emailed Alan. I said, "What's the most useful thing I can do?" And he said, "We've got to keep the pressure on getting compensation for the entire families because of what they've been through as well. Because they've been vilified, and you see in the show, you see how a family, the kids of a postmaster start getting abused and bullied at school because they're seen as crooks. And I think that the families that I met on that morning, there was kind of excitement at the idea of them being in a TV show, but there's also, just this long road they've been on, and there's a sort of, the fact that they can smile at all is remarkable.
It really is amazing that they're still going and they're still punching.
Yeah.
And there's that awful moment in the show where the CEO, does she get a CBE or an OBE or something in the middle of it all?
Yeah.
It's just
shameless. Utterly shameless.
And yes, we shouldn't be laughing because it is just awful. And And
well, I think it's interesting you say that, because I think what's great about the show, from about the writing that Gwyneth did, she did this incredible thing of condensing all this massive amount of research, but in it there's also there's a humour. It's not without humour.
Oh no, absolutely.
Everyone has a sort of very kind of British kind of downbeat humour going on, and I think that sort of leavens it a bit.
Yes, and also there's so many really charming, kind of slightly quirky, interesting people.
Yeah, because who becomes a sub-postmaster? You're in these isolated... I think, it's an interesting thing to try and create a coherent group, which is what Alan did, out of people who've deliberately chosen a job where they are in their own little... They're masters of their own little community.
Yes.
And he was able to unite them as a group, which is no small achievement, I think. Virgin Radio.